Hey guys, VaulSC here. Hope that you're having a good week. We're going to get on to Game 4 of the Intelcom 2020 coverage, in which I'm playing Vanilla Combined Army in the very first N4 satellite tournament. And the round 4 will be up against another Combined Army player, Vanilla versus Vanilla. It's the absolute mirror match. As I mentioned in my previous game, round 3 against Verona didn't really go very well for me. I didn't really enjoy the game. But this round 4 game turned out to be the best game of N4 I've ever played so far. Maybe 10-15 games so far altogether. So I'm really looking forward to taking you through it, and we'll explain why this was a much better experience than the previous game. Before I get into the bat rep, I quickly want to talk to you guys about Battle Kiwi, and this is not, I repeat, it is not a paid presentation. I'm not being sponsored. I'm not receiving anything in return to shouting out this website. The reason why I want to draw your attention to it is because the guy who I'm playing against is actually the owner and proprietor of that brand, and great guy. I've been running into him at tournaments and seeing him for years now, but I never got to play him. This is the very first time for me to play him, so I thought, why not just take the time to remind everybody that he has a website called www.battlekiwi.com, and it's full of amazing accessories, not just for Infinity, but for other war games. The Infinity stuff is amazing, though. You guys may have heard of the Rumble Dome stuff, which is the Aristia-themed terrain for Infinity, but it's the like the Aristia look. So you may have seen this in some of my bat reps in the past. This is how you get hold of it if you really want to. So amazing guy, really great products. I really recommend them. Not receiving anything to say that. I just think that he deserves the shout out because really cool dude. And as you're watching the bat rep, bear in mind that this is the person that I'm playing against. So, in terms of army lists, he is running the following. Charontid Lieutenant with MSV3. I like him. I think he's really cool. He's had a little bit of a points reduction. The only thing about him is that he doesn't have like an AP heavy machine gun, and that can be useful, but still really strong piece. The Zeodron, I've never been a fan of it, but the K1 Marksman rifle, there's now an argument for it. I mean, this guy's still pretty tough. The K1 Marksman is very useful in this edition, so props to him for trying it. It's not my favorite Combined Army piece, but it's not exactly the worst thing in the faction anymore. Raziat, obviously really, really good. I'm running a Raziat as well. He's deciding to take the Combi Rifle Specialist. I'll be running the Spitfire. We're both in agreement that this is a really strong unit. Medtech Slave Drone, obvious and pretty much necessary to revive your Emitrons and Icadrons and everything. He's running the Seed Soldier Fort Observer, really solid. Noctifer Missile Launcher, I've got one of those as well. Bit and Kiss, I haven't really taken them yet. They are very good though. The ability to have your killer hacker with Oblivion as well, and a picture available to you, being able to put him into, impersonation state is very, very good, the masking state. And in his group 2, he's just really got a bunch of tiger creatures, more than I have. I've only got one, but this is very useful to screen his more important stuff. So, strong list. I don't really have any complaints about it. He doesn't really use a lot of SWCs. That may be one niggling piece of criticism. But this is a game that he ends up winning. I didn't play as well, so props to him. Decent list. I wouldn't play it myself, not my style, but that doesn't mean that there's anything significantly wrong with it. Let's just put it that way. Let's jump into it. So this is the mission acquisition. It's really good to go second. I decided to pick deployment instead just because I was kind of worried he'd run his avatar list, and I wanted to have the opportunity to take deployment and, presumably first turn if he went straight for second, and try to get Nourkias over there to his avatar. He thought I'd be playing my avatar list, so we both, kind of bluffed each other out and ended up playing our alternative lists, and that's partly what made this game really fun. Noctifer hidden deployment photo. By the way, it's not the Noctifer that's prone, it's the slave drone next to the Noctifer that's prone. That probably should have been clearer, but obviously you want to keep your Noctifer where it can see things if it's going into hidden deployment. So, my deployment from here is, let's just get at the pen. Let's go for an unhealthy green this time. So Flashbot here, represented by our LF bot, supported by our little slave drone. I've got two of those. Emitron landing successfully behind the building. We've got the Dr. Worm prone up here, who's going to support a Q drone later on. This is a Liberto with a mine hanging out over here, and then there's, I think, one of these guys is the Caliban's further back. There's a shrouded hacker on the side. Datratse through here. This is, I believe, me just about to put an HVT down somewhere. Through the back midfield, we've got Nourkias prone next to the other slave drone, which is going to be there to help out in case he gets hit by some sort of long-range hacking or whatever may come after him, Gryph operator or something. Tiger Creature holding the left-hand flank. We've got another shrouded hacker up here. Caliban near to the objective. I want that guy to be there in case I need to use his chain of command just to jump over and grab the objective there. And Imatron landing on the bottom left. So there's where I'm putting my my HVT just upfield beyond the position of the shrouded and the Tiger Creature. My opponent, in the back of his line, he's got the Zeodrone with K1 with the Slave Drone and the Imatron hiding behind it, and then little Gremlin-style Tiger proxies just scattered through the midfield. In the center of his deployment, he's got Bit and Kiss. Bit is prone in the building, and Kiss is just behind the wall here. Again, they are well protected by these little creatures. You can see his camera markers. These are purchasable from his website, by the way, battlekiwi.com. So there's, I believe he's got a shrouded out in the midfield, or a Liberto even. Maybe I got his Armulus wrong. There's probably, I think what I'm missing here is that he doesn't have an R drone, but he does have a Liberto instead. I think I remember him using a Liberto actually. So what he's actually got here is the Liberto mine layer in one of these groups, probably group 2, and that does take his points up to something a little bit more sensible. So Liberto would be up there, and then the paramedic seed soldiers over here. And on his far left, he's got an Icadron holding off the left-hand flank with a HVT beyond it. The Dr. Worm camping out on top of this. Mind you, there are longer deployment zones, up to 16 inches. Another reason why I decided to pick deployment. I wanted the better table side, and I thought if I'm going first, the additional deployment may help me for attacking. But he's spread out well, he's deployed well. Charontid coming down as the reserve trooper. He is spending a command token to put the Charontid into suppression fire, which is an interesting move that we'll talk about soon. I think that ended up working in his favor, but there's also an argument for stripping 2 orders from my combat group, which is in some situations a lot better. My reserve trooper are going to be the Q drone, just because I want to pick off one of his Icadrons, which is on the flank. So this Icadron over here, I'm putting the Q drone within line of sight of that so I can destroy it first. That will open the way for me to come in with my Raziat. So there we go. Raziat landing next to the HVT immediately after the Icadron is destroyed by the Q drone, which worked out fine. Spent a little bit of time painting up my Raziat in celebration of his massive buffs, and then he's out to move around. So this is where I want to comment on the suppression fire tactic. Raziat has moved in through here, and what it's able to do is try and pick off this guy over here and maybe an Imatron somewhere else. But the suppression fire from the Charontid means that he can't really take on the Charontid, because then I'm going up against the Charontid with BS14 and 3 dice, and the Raziat might not really win that shootout. So he's actually done himself a pretty good service by pulling that tactic off, but it does mean I have the full 10 orders to spend on Group 1, which is going to inflict some damage here. So we've already got 1 or 2 kills. The Raziat then comes through to take on this Icadron in the distance, which he does manage to do, pulling through there. Then he simply throws a Eclipse Grenade right next to the spot of the ladder, which is going to allow him to ignore the Charontid. Charontid does have MSV3, but that does not see through the smoke cloud of an Eclipse Grenade, which allows me to come up to the top of the stairs. The base is still affected by the smoke template, but once I get up the top, he's then able to go prone and just walk through and potentially take out that Dr. Worm. We have the Lieutenant's Order being spent on Nourkias. Before I forget to do that, just masking him so that Bit and Kiss don't come across the battlefield, throw a pitcher, and nuke him with a Trinity. Then we have the Tiger Creature moving out around here. This enemy Tiger Creature versus my Tiger Creature, we're both kind of dodging. But what happens here is I managed to get in close to his camo marker. We checked the rules for this, and the rules experts came over and explained to me that if I get close enough to his base, I'm technically still allowed to do a bit of a tactic from N3, which is to if I've got my base right here, and then I target this model with the template, I can actually have the template touching the side of the marker, meaning that because it goes out in a sort of a conical cone shape, it's going to clip this model here. So I can target the tiger creature, still clip the seed soldier, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. It reveals the seed soldier, who unluckily failed the dodge and the armor save and died, but the tiger creature's okay. So we ended up just berserking into each other, and although he got unlucky with his seed soldier paramedic, he did kill my tiger creature with his, so that was a bit of a funny one. Nourkias now moving out. He is the data tracker for this, so preferably I'd like to keep him alive for the end, but more likely he will be going after enemy models that are important, hopefully killing the Zero-Dron or the Charontid in turn 3, and then I'll just try and defend the middle objective. But he's just trying to camp out this middle building, which will serve as like a forward base of operations for his super jumping through in marker state like this, and cleaning up later. So he just goes prone on top of this building here, where he should be safe for a bit. Alrighty, so I've left my opponent in a bit of a state of devastation, really. I've taken out 2 Echidrons, I've taken out Dr. Worm, I've taken out a Paramedic, I think I've knocked out possibly one of the Tiger creatures, or I can't remember, and I've got my models into good positions, so feeling happy about that. His Tiger creatures moving forward with Impetuous, just streaming them through. I'm not too afraid of them, just because they're not backed up by a whole lot of regular orders. So it's unlikely that they're going to be berserking into my back line. This is the one closest to the Razyat. As he nears the position of the Razyat is able to make use of the new dodge rules to start dodging a little bit closer to this corner, so that he can just sort of stay away from enemy troops as much as possible. He doesn't really want to get berserked, if you know what I mean. He does have Natural Born Warrior and Martial Arts though, so that's pretty good. Now this tiger creature coming close to Nourkias' position, and this is the one mistake I feel like my opponent really made this game. He decided to just use Climbing Plus, or even just normal climbing I should say, to come up and over the wall in range of my Caliban marker and my impersonation marker for Nourkias. And his hope was that he'd basically just get in the way and start dodging and dropping the Chain Cult template if I was to do anything. Little did he know that this actually benefits me, because Nourkias can actually move into close combat, easily beat the tiger creature, and use Prothion to suck up his wounds, and then go back into impersonation state, which makes it much more likely I'll be able to push into his territory. So if this is one point in the game where my opponent really dropped the ball, I think it would be this one particular play. Elsewhere, his Liberto is giving up position in the midfield to move around and go after my Razyat, and that's exactly what he does. Moving up here, Razyat trying to dodge away, but eventually there's a shootout where it's shotgun versus effectively just dodging, me trying to get into close combat with him. I can't really lay the Eclipse Grenade because he might just choose the template mode, and unluckily for me the Razyat goes down, but he has spent a lot of resources to achieve this, and of course Liberto better than me in his active turns, so does deal with this Razyat, but the Razyat's done well. Charontid now moving out just to get into a bit of a different position, and then he's dropping his own Razyat at the back of my line. Now, with a few orders left, I can see that this Razyat is a threat. My Q-Drone's not quite in position to see it from the other side of the board, and he does stand to take out an Imatron and an R-Drone at the least. So I decided to reveal my Noctifer in response to this guy showing up, because even though the photo is very blurry, that is a Noctifer up there, and he's able to fire a missile hitting on a 12. I did get unlucky here and missed it, but 60% chance, you're not always going to pull that off, and that's why the following photographs are of the Charontid just moving out there to try and kill me. My opponent making another small misjudgment. Charontid turns out to be out of range. So he's hitting me on 8s on 4 dice, I'm hitting him on a 15 on 1 dice, and if he loses the Charontid, things are going to get pretty hard for him pretty quickly. Luckily for him, though, he does score a crit with the Charontid and does beat the Noctifer. He can't really keep moving his Razyat, though, because I'm still dogged, so he just waits for the turn to end, and that's pretty much what happens. He's also got this Zero-Dron, I believe, going into suppression fire. So that was a fun turn. But as prophesied, Nourkias pops out of impersonation state, rips up the tiger creature, and gains 2 wounds from the power-up straight away. He is then able to super jump down here, fire his breaker rifle against this Razyat, who successfully dodges away, so good for him. My opponent has a Noctifer in hidden deployment, but forgets to use him. So that was kind of funny. And then when the Samaritan's continuing to, the Nourkias is continuing to move out with three wounds and NWI, I might add. We do have the Noctifer revealing at some point and trying to get me. I've also got a Q drone which is able to move to the back here. The reason he's doing this is because he wants to get some free shots on the tiger creatures, but also position himself where he'll be able to defend against the enemy tiger creature, because with the Q drone here, the tiger creature is further towards that. So I'm outside of my deployment zone. I was previously obscured by this wall. So now the Q drone will be able to see that Razyat if he does move out. So it protects me. Now, annoyingly, this other tiger creature getting in the way of Nourkias. Nourkias has to commit more orders to removing him, but pretty happy to do that. He is CC 25 with martial arts level 1 billion, so he rips up another tiger creature on his way over there, but running out of orders. So we do have the Noctifer revealing. That says Noctifer down the left. I'm sorry that I'm not very good at focusing my camera, but Nourkias able to dodge away from the Noctifer. Nourkias pretty good at dodging, but you know, my opponent getting a little bit unlucky with the Noctifer there, and also forgetting about him. And to be fair, I mean, he got quite lucky with his Charontid. It's okay for him to get, you know, lucky with some things, unlucky with other things. It's been back and forward with the dice rolls this game. Nourkias, okay, his goal is to kill a Zeodron, because that's basically a data tracker trade, which is what I want. So he's re-impersonating near here, and then moving across this. Once he comes close to this building, bear in mind there is a Noctifer on the top, but he's sort of on the other side on the top, so he can't quite see over the wall, and I'm able to avoid the Charontid. I'm able to avoid the tiger creature, thanks to impersonation state. So we get to a point here where the Zeodron's trying to dodge out of my close combat range, but that will break his suppression fire, unfortunately. So we then have Nourkias moving through into combat with the Zeodron. He does manage to dodge a Blitzen on his way there. My opponent was initially dodging in with his slave drone, but then we realized, oh, hang on a sec, I killed his medtech, so this guy's actually disabled. But Nourkias comes in, and this is the climactic moment in the game, where I'm just whipping at him with my monofilament weapon, 2 dice on 28s. But miraculously, the Zeodron actually wins the close combat. He rolls like a 10 or something stupid, and I roll like 2s and 3s. Or even like 1s and 2s. It has to be so far apart for him to win, because I am adding +8 to my dice rolls, but he's still managed it anyway. And Nourkias loses and doesn't have any more orders to spend. So I did get horrifically unlucky at this point in the game, but I just had to laugh about it. I mean, I got lucky to avoid his Noctifer on the way in. I also got unlucky with his Charontid, but I got lucky with some of my other shooters. It is what it is. I felt like this was totally fair. My Shrouded with some orders from Group 2, just moving up and pressing a button because I need to start accumulating points to put pressure on him at the end of the game. So pressing a button, going back into Marcus State at the end there with the objective secured. Now, my opponent does have this option available to him of impersonating with Cyber Mask on Bit and Kiss, leaving the building. It does take them a few orders to do that, but they can eventually move within range of Nourkias. Nourkias does get the chance to dodge out of close combat once they come through, but they will be able to use Trinity on him in close combat, where he can't really do much else. I would like to Trinity back, but I can't do it while I'm engaged. So initially I'm just being beaten down upon by Bit and Kiss. But I do have 3 wounds and NWI, so Nourkias does indeed last a while. He dodges out of close combat successfully once Kiss comes in range, but then the hacking starts to go big and bold on him. There is a small chance of him winning because he has Whip 15 plus 3 from Trinity, but there is a firewall. So Bit and Kiss do eventually get the better of him, spending most of the turn's orders to kill him. We also have the Zeodron trying to pull back and make it away from him, but that was pretty much all he could achieve with his turn, is eventually rendering Nourkias unconscious, or actually removing him because of NWI, and then just trying to consolidate his forces as best he could. We have the Liberto also moving down from the building away from the Razyat. And the Charontid moving out far enough to get line of sight to my Shrouded using his Lieutenant's order, so he does pop the Shrouded and renders him unconscious. Now, really important moment in the game is that I attempted to spend an order on him to regenerate him in the following turn, not realizing I could have actually done it for free at the end of that turn. So a big learning point for me as far as Combined Army is concerned. I missed an opportunity to bring back my Shrouded. That would have allowed me to control this objective with a model and re-camo and everything like that. So that was a big deal, but at least I'm glad that I learned what to do for future games. On the other side, this is my turn 3, my other Shrouded going in and pressing the button on the other marker, so that's going to put me up 3 points to 0. If I can simply stop him from reaching the middle objective, then that will be a win for me. It's just going to be hard because he's got the Zeodron and the Charontid. With that in mind, everybody's moving towards it, though. I've got the Caliban, who's now the Lieutenant from Chain of Command. I'm moving out with my Flashbot. I'm moving out with my Liberto, my Charontid. The Q-Drone's going to be watching the middle. This guy's ready to start dodging his way onto the objective just to make it more annoying. If he consistently passes dodge checks, well, he's going to be contesting the middle objective, which will cause me to win. Liberto placing mines everywhere. I've got the Q-Drone, which has moved down a level and is watching the middle with his beautiful HMG. So we've got some things in the way. This is a Caliban, that's a Liberto, there's a Datras in the window. They can all use the new dodge rules to start dodging towards the objectives. My opponent doesn't have unlimited orders. He's got to contend with the Q-Drone and the Flash Pulse Bot here. So I've given myself a chance, at least. There's the Caliban there, I believe going into suppression fire or dodging against something, but anyway, he's starting by moving in with his Charontid. So the Charontid Lieutenant moves through. It's going to be taking on the Caliban, detonating a mine, and taking on the Q-Drone. Now, this was a bit ambitious. He came around and he tried to engage a few more people than he bargained for. He does not have cover. So the Q-Drone actually fires at him. He's only put like 2 shots from the Charontid into the Q-Drone. And the Charontid performs very badly in that face-to-face roll, takes a bunch of hits from the Q-Drone, and actually fails 2 saves abruptly. And then, because he's ignored the mine, fails the mine on a save as well. So I was like, what? Charontid just dies because my opponent was being really reckless and careless. But look, he's got the second turn, and that's far more important in missions like this. Acquisition is a very poorly designed mission. I've been saying that since N3. They're going to need to make some changes in N4. Anyway, I did choose deployment. I didn't go for second turn outright, so that needs to be said that I could have had that option myself. I just thought he was going to be playing the Avatar. Still, we have models dodging towards the objective, trying to get a little bit closer. Charontid is down. Now he has to spend everything else on other troops. He does have his Liberto, though, and he's planning on moving his Liberto around just to try and sneak onto this objective so that he can at least contest it. Then it's a matter of moving out with the tactical awareness from the Zeodron K1 combi rifle being loaded up and getting ready. He moves through and gets line of sight to just the Charontid, who is trying to dodge closer to the objective. I can't really afford to put down a smoke grenade because then he could just move on to the objective more easily. So Charontid trying to hold on, but the K1 combi rifle eventually gunning him down and getting through. So there's the Charontid on the floor. But as it gets closer, I'm able to dodge my Caliban into base contact with the objective. I don't believe it sets off the mine when you're just dodging, I think, in reactor turn. So at least I've got something touching the objective. He will have to kill the Caliban in order to win, and that's not guaranteed. So, Zeodron now moving around here, going after the Caliban, unfortunately has to take on the Flash Pulse Bot and the Q-Drone, and this is where things get massive. He basically takes everybody on. He's killed the Caliban, I think, before he has to take on the Q-Drone. But the Q-Drone goes off and rips into him a whole bunch of times. The Liberto lays down a chain rifle template, and disaster strikes. The Zeodron whiffs it, and the Q-Drone rips into him and does 2 wounds. And then at the end of the game, we're just basically waiting on 1 dice roll to see if he passes a chain cult save. I was having the time of my life. I was just laughing my head off about how wacky this game was going. I just had to give him a hug at the end and say, hey dude, no matter what, this was a great game. Anyway, we roll the dice. Zeodron passes the save and he wins pretty convincingly because this is the data tracker on the objective at the end. Doesn't matter if he gets flash pulsed. So this was a great game, really entertaining game. Why was this game a lot more fun? Even though I lost it, compared to the previous game against Varuna? Well, firstly, and probably most importantly, this table actually had some decent terrain on it. A lot of the important lines of sight were blocked off. There wasn't anywhere to set up in your deployment zone that allowed you to see, more than sort of 50% of the table. So that was a really big factor. Secondarily, our army lists were kind of decent and balanced lists. We weren't trying to abuse anything that was really, oppressive and stupid. I mean, the previous game was Avatar versus Cutter and Varuna Kamau Sniper. It was a bit sickling and sort of came down to dice rolls and position and the tabletop and the mission. Whereas this game was more about, trade-offs, position, player decisions, tactics. I found myself learning a lot more from this game. There were little things that I found I could have done better. So overall, the enjoyment and the quality was just far and beyond. So the moral of the story is take a lot of care with how you lay out your tables, and also keep in mind that N4 at the moment doesn't seem to be balanced very well. I feel like Pan-Oceania and Combined Army kind of are at the top of the food chain, and especially the lists which really crutch hard on things like the Avatar Cutter, Kamau Sniper, that kind of thing. So if that can be fixed, if the missions can get a little bit better, and if generally people running tournaments can put together better tables, I'm going to be enjoying N4. If not, it's going to be pretty hard to enjoy this edition. But hey, this was a fantastic game. Looking forward to many more games like it. And please check the video description if you want to check out Battle Kiwi's templates and terrain and accessories. They're really, really good. Catch you guys in the next one.